for the last 30 years, we've always regarded June 1st as when it's game time to plant all your summer vegetables, but also flowers like sunflowers, cosmos, zinnia, all the amaranths and celosia, because we're past the point of the risk of frost. So here in my hand, what I have is I'm going to do another succession. This will literally be, I think, our third succession already of green beans. I'm planting some dragon's tongue wax bean. I also have a summer squash to have here in our home garden. I already have a whole bunch in a greenhouse where we're actually already eating fruit. So that's just a reminder and a suggestion that if you don't already have a greenhouse, you get such a big jump start on the season. So we literally have summer squash that's ripe in a greenhouse nearby. But I'm going to plant some outside because this is a closer location to the homes here on this farm. And summer squash is the kind of thing you want to just walk out your door and harvest. I'm also going to plant some more sunflowers, mainly just to have for beauty, but they also bring in pollinators and birds, and if you have poultry, you can be cutting the heads and giving them the seed-laden heads that are full of protein-rich seeds. I'm also going to plant some cucumbers. These are a kind of Middle Eastern bait alf type called muncher that are non-bitter, and just to have some here in the home garden. We have some planted already in a raised bed, but cucumbers too are another thing that it's good to plant succession waves because of cucumber beetles and disease, and also location. I've really learned a lot about planting things close into home, and there's a whole idea in permaculture called zone theory. And zone 0 is your home, zone 1 is right outside, zone 2 is a little bit farther away, and it also describes periodicity of visiting. So zone 3 is where you'd grow like sweet corn or potatoes because it doesn't require a lot of tending, but things like cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, summer squash, basil, and salad gardens are zone 2 type things. Zone 4 would be like apple trees, nut trees. Zone 5 is wilderness, and what we harvest there is inspiration. So down here, what I have is some peppers that I'm going to plant and some tomatoes. But I think I'm going to start off here with planting a furrow of beans just because I'm holding this hoe here. And you can use a variety of different hoes. I'm going to make a furrow right here. And then on the back side, I'm going to plant tomatoes because the tomatoes I'm going to trellis, and this is a way to make the most use of space. So that direction is south. The tomatoes are going to be tall. They're going to be over there. And I'm going to put the beans in here. So I've made a furrow. And if you notice, I held the hoe in a way that was kind of diagonal. And I'm going to get these in my hand here and just sprinkle them in. These are a bush bean. So I'm planting them, roughly every 2 to 4 inches. In my home garden spaces, I want to make sure that I have a nice stand. So I'm planting a little thicker than recommended, but I'd rather have them thick and have to pull some plants out than have gaps. Because this soil is really nice and I want to make the most of it. Okay, so that's that. Take care of these. And one of the things I'll do sometimes just to remind myself is I'll make a little stripe here, and that tells me like I only planted to there. And I don't always label all these things because I'm not saving seed, so that's not important because we're just going to eat it. So I'm going to, now these tomatoes here are ready to go in the ground. These are these McAuliffe pots, and you can see the plant here has fully filled out all its rooting space. So when you're trellising tomatoes, I plant them about every 2 feet. And so for me, that distance of kind of two hang looses is 18 inches. And so I'm approximating here. If you're really like everything being well organized, you can make a stick that's the exact spacing. But for me, this is fun. And here's one that a buddy of mine gave me the other day. He's a farmer and elder, very knowledgeable about plants. So he gave me this one called Momotaro, which is a Japanese variety, which I guess means tough boy. So that's kind of fun. So we'll be learning about that tomato this year. Let's see, got one more here. So you can see how these tomatoes, it doesn't look like a lot of room right now, but, or that there's a lot of space between them. And one thing about tomatoes that you can do is I'm not going to do it with that one because that's a different size pot. But see these long pots here? Check this out. So I can put them in there like this. See how I'm putting that horizontally in there? And you can bury the stem on tomatoes. They're totally fine with that. Tomatoes are a little tricky to start, but once they're a plant, they're pretty tough. So here's another one. This is a variety of, each one of these plants is a different variety, and we're growing more of them in our production fields for seed, but down here, I just want to have a diversity of tomatoes for eating. Probably most of you do as well. So the plant will figure it out. So you can see, like, I'm not planting it like that, but even if I did, they would be fine. But I can just take some soil and push it up like that. Another thing I've already done on these, but I can show right here. See how there's some flower clusters there? I'm going to pinch those off because right now I just want the plant to be growing healthy roots and foliage and not be putting its energy into fruiting it. So in the greenhouse, I regularly go through and pinch off the flowers because it's just too early. So there's those. And now let's put some peppers in. So you can see I've used these same type of pots here. But peppers do not get as big. So I'm going to plant them 3 rows here and about a foot apart. I'm going to grab the other ones over here. Those ones are called tangerine pimento, and we sell seeds of those. This here is some new ones, and this is called blanco pimento. And these are a variety. I got some seed growing friends in Costa Rica. So this is going to be a new variety for me. And oftentimes with new varieties, I just grow a few at first to learn about them. So we'll go ahead and get these in. Peppers are a little more fragile than tomatoes, so I'm going to put these ones in upright. And peppers you want to plant about 12 to 18 inches apart. So again, this is 18 inches. For me, I've measured it. This distance from here to here is 9 inches. So if I go like that, that's 18. This soil here, I've already put a fair amount of composted manure from our sheep in here. So they have plenty of fertility to grow nice plants. Tuck that in there. And then these guys, these blanco pimentos. I always love transplants because it's kind of like an instant garden. Whereas like seeds, they're in there like those beans I just planted, but it's going to be a little while before they're up and growing. And in terms of transplanting, one of the things I always make sure, I've got some weeds in this one, is that I'm covering the root ball. I think that's the most crucial thing. So you can see as I put this in here, I'm going to mound soil to cover that root ball because it was pretty warm today. It was about 85 degrees. And I don't want these to dry out because they're going to be adjusting. And so making sure you cover that root ball is good. So in terms of what else you can plant here in summer, I'm going to go back to grabbing what I have of seed here. Remember I talked about growing some summer squash and some cucumbers, so let's get those in. But these guys get big. So the summer squash, what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to just go right down the middle of the row. I might come in here. I've got some cilantro in little starts. And this is one thing you can do if you want to maximize your productivity. So you can see, right now I'm just going to be putting in some seeds of these. And what I do is I'll just take 2 seeds and put them in about 2 inches deep. And there's a limit to how much summer squash we can eat here, but I want to have enough to share with friends and potlucks. When I plant seeds like this, I think about things like having the grill going and slicing up zucchini and covering it with some salt and maybe some other herbs and grilling it up. So I want to make sure to have enough to share with friends, because come July and August, we'll be doing that. So here we go. That's good there. Now I'm going to put, I guess I have to go back here. Again, I don't have my hoe, but I'm going to just come through here and make a mark so I know where I went to. But you can see I've got a lot of space in here. So these shoulders, like through here, would be a really good spot to plant some basil or cilantro. So you're getting some productivity out of there. And then I'll come down here and keep doing the same thing. And then later I'll come back through and transplant my cilantro and basil. So here you can see I've got cucumber seed. This is this muncher cucumber. And I'll probably just go right to the end of the row here, because cucumbers are the kind of thing it's nice to have plenty of. So and if you have never grown these Middle Eastern types, which another name for it is the bait alf, they aren't bitter, so you don't have to peel them or anything. And they're like a green, straight cucumber, like what people call an English cucumber. But I find that English ones are a little bitter. They're all right, but if you can grow something that isn't bitter, why not? So notice how I'm just taking a pinch of seeds. See, like there's 3 seeds. Because I want to make sure there's 1. Again, you can always thin, but it's really, if you have to come back and reseed, that means you're like 10 days to 2 weeks too late. So I always make sure to put about 2 or 3 seeds in here in a spot, and that's good. So see here, I'm at the end of the row, and what I like to do, the end of my beds, because that's usually the where you walk up to it, and so I'm going to get up my sunflowers now. I'm just going to put some sunflowers in here. So you can imagine, anybody coming from the barn or that direction, they're going to be greeted by the happy yellow faces of sunflowers. So I'm just going to tuck these in here like that. But while I'm at it, I might as well do some here too. And the key is you just got to remember where you planted this stuff, so as it's coming up, you can weed it. And I'm going to go in here. Although here, we have chickens. So see here, got chickens that took a dust bath here. So if I put in these sunflowers, they might dig them up. So I got to get after that. So it's always good to look. A lot of people contact us and say, I planted your seeds and they didn't come up. And I'll entertain that idea, but the reality is, if you don't have chickens, there's all these birds that are going to come in and eat there. So look at how we just planted a bed that's about 50 feet long with sunflowers, cucumbers, summer squash, 2 types of peppers, green beans, and a variety of tomatoes, that's a nice summer garden. And so when I do that kind of thing, I can think about having cucumber tomato salads with some basil and cilantro, some green beans, and that makes me happy. So that was really easy. If you saw it, again, I'll just revisit it in closing. We got cucumbers, summer squash, these sunflowers somewhere in here. Oh, and then these green beans. So that was so fast. So if you're let's say you're a little behind and you're in a spot where you can get some seeds, we'll be at the farmer's market in Ashland tomorrow, and we'll be in Idaho in Coeur d'Alene a little bit later this month if you want to visit us at the Modern Homesteading Conference. Just pick up these seeds, because as you move through your garden and you're pulling out other things from the spring, just keep planting these kind of things, green beans and cucumbers and summer squash. The tomatoes and stuff, they're longer season crops, but these other things we can plant from seed are so easy. And then behind me, just to keep talking about it, I've got 3 more beds here in this home garden. So now I'm getting down to it. And up there I've got a bed of potatoes. And then I planted a bed of carrots and beets, and they're coming up nice. I just need to weed them. And here I've got some flowers, some zinnias just for beauty and pollinators, and then celery. And then the celery goes into something else over there. And then over here, I've already got sweet corn. And you can look at this. So this is June 1st, and we planted this a little while ago. So I'm going to have to come in and thin this. And what thinning is removing some plants. I'm going to leave 2 just to be on the safe side. And then I've got to come in here and weed. But if you look down the row, you can see we're going to have a nice bit of sweet corn in here. And then we have another succession that's later. And the key to an abundant garden is planting successions. So we've got, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, these mustards that are already starting to bolt. So once they start to bolt, like this isn't really food for us. You can see there's some leaves on there, but it's going past. So I'll be pulling this out soon because we just didn't get around to eating it all. And then starting another succession. And speaking of successions, you can see in here I've got this is a patty pan summer squash. So we've already got, some squash here right next to a lettuce. So when you think of successions, just imagine space. So I'm going to be harvesting this head of lettuce here, and this will eventually grow into this whole space. It'll get big, and you can see some peas in here too, another summer squash. These cabbages will be taking up this space. So in gardening, we're working in the 3D space, but also the 4D space, because time is the 4th dimension. So as you get better at all this, you get better at thinking about, how big is this plant going to get? How quickly is it going to grow? And when will we have space? So another example of that is we have some spring onions that we've been eating here. All those are going to be coming out soon. And then I should be thinking about what should I be planting over here. So maybe I'll plant another succession of beans, or I'm sure something will come up. But some folks work really well with, kind of graphing this out on graph paper and thinking about it. Other folks are more just doing improv. And, while we're talking about that, like down here, you can see these are little baby cilantros. So soon I'll have cilantro in there. Over there is dill. And I've got parsley over there. We've been eating these pak choys. And I tend to think about like spring garden, summer garden, but also there's the late summer garden. And then you move into fall gardening, which is really late summer. So we've got another video about that. We'll link in here, because really you get your fall garden started in usually midsummer. Otherwise, you're going to be too late. If it's already fall by the time you're planting your fall garden, you're too late. So I just thought I'd depict, this is our home garden here. And I know I could be doing a better job on some things, but I feel like we're doing all right this year here. And we've got a lot of food happening and a lot more food to come over there. So that's what I tend to think about, is how to extend the harvest for as long as possible. And have abundance that you can eat and share with your friends. So hopefully there was something that was helpful there for you of what you can be planting at the beginning of June.